studio set, also in the for North Park building. Nick, has it gotten, it's not too cold yet outside, it's colder than it has been, right?
Well, this room won't ever get as cold as that last studio.
Well, we appreciate producer Nate for letting us behind the scenes and his input, but he has a knack in making it colder in here than it needs to be.
Oh, really? Yeah, feels fine to me. But, yeah, feeling better. Thanks, Josh, for subbing in last week. Yeah, Nate, he got a couple more lines last week. I did notice that. But, yeah, thanks for subbing in. You guys seem to you guys were chatting it up last week.
Yeah, we went super long, so that, in theory, hopefully won't happen today at our actual work table. That's plenty to get to, right? NFL championship games were played. I think I've realized I'm in the minority of how I feel the games went. We'll jump into that. But Super Bowl 57 is set. Eagles and Chiefs, so we'll obviously discuss that. College basketball, it's been a year of parity. So we'll jump into that as well. But NASCAR's back this weekend. Exhibition, the Busch Clash at the Coliseum. So
I didn't know we were hyping up NASCAR exhibition.
I have to get up on my soapbox for a couple minutes before we get out here for that. So much to get to, so let's jump right in with the NFL. Super Bowl, like I said, set between the Eagles and the Chiefs, like everybody was saying for the most part anyway, but tons of different storylines. But let's start with that 49er-Eagle game, 31-7. The Eagles were victorious. And a lot of different storylines we can kind of go here. We'll touch on, obviously, a couple of them. But I actually want to start not with actually the quarterback situation with the 49ers, but really Philly and that defense really, to me, was the reason they won. Not so much the offense, because, to be honest, I didn't think either of the games were that great, to be honest, from a football playing standpoint. And like I said, probably in the minority as the week's kind of gone on. I thought both games were kind of awful, to be honest, just gameplay-wise. I didn't think they were great. But, hey, you have to go out, you have to win, right? So that's just part of it. But really, the big takeaway for me with the Eagles was just their defense. And it's not like I've slept on them all year. I don't think they were necessarily frauds the way we were saying, kind of like the Cowboys were frauds in that sense. But I figured the 49er defense would really be the defense we were talking about at the end of the day, and they weren't. Yeah.
The defense did not step up, but, Purdy going down, that didn't help at all, They had Josh Johnson, Washington, great quarterback, Josh Johnson. He was terrible. But so they really didn't have a quarterback. When Purdy went back out there, you could tell he couldn't throw the ball. I was hoping Christian McCaffrey would get a couple more throws. I think he did get one in. That would have been something if Christian McCaffrey isn't the MVP yet. If he had won in that game as quarterback, he should have been. But
I didn't think he looked bad on the one throw, but
no,
it's just an impossible situation.
I mean, I hate to say it, but the Eagles, they're pretty good. They're loaded. Got probably the best offensive line in the game. Defensive front, I mean, they all have like 10 sacks at least. So, and Jalen Hurts he's really good.
Jalen Hurts actually might have had his, I wouldn't say worst game statistically though in this game, but only threw for 121 yards, and that was it.
I wouldn't throw the elite wide receiver tag on A.J. Brown, but he's definitely a very talented wide receiver. They're loaded all around. Nick Sirianni, not a big fan. He's not my favorite head coach in the league, but he's done a good job with year two. I did hear a stat. It was Doug Peterson's second year with the Eagles. They won the Super Bowl that year.
This is Sirianni's second year.
Second year, yeah. So, hats off to them. I don't agree that both games. I see what you're saying, that gameplay standpoint, I guess, but that Bengals-Chiefs game was pretty good.
Yeah, we'll get to that in a sec, because you did bring up, obviously, the quarterback situation for the 49ers.
Yeah.
And not to be that guy, not to play revisionist history, but I did say a ton last week, not just on this podcast, but a couple other different endeavors we have over here at FL1, that if Garoppolo was available, I think it would have been a different game anyway. And I
I
think we
don't-
kind of saw it a little bit. But
I don't agree with that. But
circle back really to the real point at hand because, look, Brock Purdy needs Tommy John surgery. It's literally a surgery we talk about not for football but for baseball. And the only two injuries or situations really that come to mind with this have been in recent years. It's been Matt Stafford coming into what was it technically this year as well, I guess, but really last year. And then Josh Allen this year as well. Now, I don't think either of them were necessarily full tears. Brock Purdy's a full tear of the UCL. That's obviously the
Yeah, Josh Allen didn't tear his UCL.
Yeah,
Just strained it.
right. So, it kind of sucks. They were hoping he'd be back at some point next year, and it's not going to happen. I mean, it's a full year of post early recovery time and rehab on an injury like that. So it kind of puts the 49ers in an interesting spot moving forward. Because
no
look,
Tom Brady.
Well, yeah. Well, it looks like, Shanahan's kind of come out and said they don't expect Garoppolo back. And look, I'm not a fan of people outright saying that Purdy should be starting over Trey Lance. I beg to differ. You didn't trade up for Trey Lance like that to abandon like that. I think the 49ers, and frankly, I feel like anybody who says that Brock Purdy should be playing over Trey Lance anyway in the first place, congratulations. You're giving me Denver Broncos. You are John Elway. You are taking a home run shot when you don't need to take a home run shot and sacrificing your team for the next who knows how long. And that's something that I don't think John Lynch is going to do. I think he's a better front office guy than Elway is at this point, clearly. I mean, you look at the guys, I mean, you mentioned, some of them, but like some of our favorite fantasy guys, for example, right? Like Debo, Ayuk, Mitchell. I mean, guys like that. I mean, not to say they go bargain bin finding, but like Debo was a first-round pick, I think, right? Or late first-round pick for the 49ers. But, I mean, they utilize him in such a way that we haven't seen before. So I just think a lot of nonsense kind of coming out with all this riding the hot hand stuff and this and that. Look, obviously very small sample size we saw from Brock Purdy, but man, was he overwhelmed the couple snaps that he had in that game, in my mind.
Yeah, I mean, you got to give the kid the benefit of the
Right.
doubt. This is his first playoff run, his first NFC Championship game. It's a lot to ask for out of a rookie who wasn't starting a little over 3 months ago. So, I like Purdy. I think he's got the tools to be a good quarterback. Obviously, they got an interesting situation with Trey Lance coming back. Garoppolo, like you said, Garoppolo will be out of the picture. So it'll be interesting. It will be a heck of I think it will be a QB battle here in San Francisco in training camp.
So my question then, I'll pose it this way, because I've lived it now the past 2.5, 3 years in Washington. And I think it's a little bit of something that and Nate, you can chime in because you ride with me or ride against me a little bit in this sense. With Heineke, he's a good quarterback. Like, don't get me wrong, I don't think he's not a good quarterback, right? But he's a backup for a reason. And I gotta be honest, the stuff I see out of Brock Purdy is the same I see out of Heineke. I don't think he's a starter in the NFL. I think he's a backup that you can turn to in a situation like we kind of saw this year, and we've seen with Washington with Heineke in the past. So, do you think that he would be, I guess, that guy then, or not?
Yeah, I can see the comparison. I definitely can. I like Heineke though. I like Heineke. I think he should be the starter there until they get another quarterback. I don't know. I don't agree with you with the Heineke hate because I actually do like Heineke.
He's a backup though. I mean, at the end of the day,
There's 32 jobs.
At the end of the day, we've seen in the past how many different times now with different quarterbacks, not Heineke, not Purdy. Take those guys out of the equation, okay? Nick Foles goes on his run, and what did he do post that run? He kind of reverted back to his mean. Mike Glennon had a good, decent couple-week run one time. Got a contract with the Bears, regressed back to his mean. John Kitna, if you want to go even further back, Kitna, same thing. Like, I will get. Oh boy, Nate. Nate, do you have a bulletproof vest, some Kevlar I could borrow for this for what I'm about to say?
Good luck.
Okay, thank you. Doug Flutie, same way. If you want to just go further back into these Rolodexes of quarterbacks, I mean, really, to be fair, I think the only one you could make the case for in history might be a guy like Jim Plunkett. Is that even a guy you know? When I say Jim Plunkett,
I know the name, but
Don't act like you're so much older than me.
no, but like I'm not saying, but like I'm not whatever. I'm just saying like that it's probably just not a name. I mean, for the long time people they know, for the short term people they know. The Rolodex of history for me. You guys call me the 1970s guy pretty much, so that's why I bring it up. But
I do not know.
it's just one of those things where it's like they're backups for reasons, you know.
I hear you.
So
So are you a big Trey Lance guy?
yeah, I don't know if I'm necessarily so much a big Trey Lance guy, but you don't trade up the way that they traded up to get the guy and not give him a fair shake. He literally played 10 minutes of football and got knocked out for the year. You can't just give up on a guy like that in that sense.
So what happens
know.
to Purdy?
Back up. You're there to trade him away. Sell him while the stakes are high enough. You can go out and get a backup. Trust me. There are plenty of Blaine Gabberts and Chase Daniels in the world that are more than capable backups that you can plug in. You know. About to say, Chad Henne, I guess. I don't know. But speaking of, I guess, Chad Henne, let's transition over. What ended up probably getting the most headline work out of the game, the games last week, was the Chiefs and Bengals, a 23-20 victory for the Chiefs. There's just a ton to unpack in this game, and we don't have enough time to probably really do it. I'll start with the obvious. Did the refs make some questionable calls? Absolutely. I'm not going to run away from that fact.
Yeah.
But I don't think you can fully say the NFL will say like rigged or anything like that. In the sense,
rigged.
well, hold on. I don't deny that because look, there was like the pass interference call on the Bengals, for example, that final drive. I don't see how you can call that, but not call the Bengals drive literally 5 minutes before, or less than that, 2 minutes before, when Higgins got clearly bumped and they didn't call DPI. I don't think you can call roughing the passer on Mahomes, and then 2 drives later when Burrow throws the ball, standing there for 2 seconds, and Fred Clark comes and clocks him, and not call that, right? But the Bengals, that final drive, and this is where I bring up the fact that it's not like the games were exactly great across the board, shot themselves in the foot a couple of different times. Like I mentioned that hold, and I wouldn't have called it. I'm guessing you probably wouldn't have called it either, right? Nate, would you have called that hold? Probably not, I'm assuming. But
the hold on 4th down you're talking about?
yes.
Yeah, that was a little ticky-tacky.
So, right, but what I'm saying is, though...
After they made a questionable call, too. So.
Right. At the end of the day, you kind of have to control your own destiny. It's one of the things I even tell, teams when I'm coaching. You can't blame whether it's refs, other outside factors. If you don't want to have that excuse, you just have to control your own destiny. You have to be the ones in control of it at the end of the day. And, the Bengals just frankly didn't. It wasn't a good game played by them. I mean, their leading rusher was Joe Burrow for 30 yards. Come on. You have Mixon. You have, to a lesser extent, P. Ryan, who is a good, capable running back that used mostly in the passing game. But you have more than capable guys. Utilize them. Utilize them while you have the chance.
Yeah, well, I said 2 weeks ago, last time I was on this podcast, I said it was going to be tough for Cincinnati to go into Buffalo and to go into Kansas City to get to the Super Bowl. And they were, just a couple points away from doing that. It's tough to repeat itself, because they just went into Kansas City last year and won and made it to the Super Bowl.
Right.
So it was going to be tough to do it twice. I thought they'd have a shot, with the uncertainty of Mahomes' ankle.
Mm-hmm.
But I did enjoy, the camera, always the camera on Mahomes' feet the entire game. But
Hated it.
they played well. I mean, they're good. The Chiefs, people think, it's it's been this whole year about Tyreek Hill trying to prove that he can play without Mahomes, and he did. You know, Tua got a lot better, helped Waddle out as well. But Mahomes is trying to prove that he can win without Tyreek Hill as well. So, and he's a very talented quarterback. I mean, it's crazy that we're gonna have to deal with this. Like they've already played 5 straight AFC Championship games at Arrowhead.
Yeah.
I can't imagine how much longer that streak's gonna go. Buffalo's got to do something. Cincinnati, somebody. You know, the AFC is tough, but the Kansas City Chiefs are making it look easy.
I don't know if they're making it necessarily look easy. I think it's going to be. I don't fully go in line with the way some people are hyping up like this young quarterback renaissance in the AFC, like a ton of people are. But the fact of the matter,
You don't like it?
No, I don't. I think it's
They're
tough.
loaded.
I think it's tough to rush to judgment when, look, we've seen Trevor Lawrence have greatness. Let's pump the brakes. He's on.
Whoa.
Hold on. He hasn't done it consistently the way Mahomes has, or even Burrow has in those 3 years. You know, Josh Allen, right? Let's pump the brakes on like the Trevor Lawrence, for example. You know, but to that end, even if we just look at those 3, right? Allen, Burrow, Mahomes. That next rung, which I will include Lawrence in, you have Herbert there as well. You have presumably, I would imagine Russell Wilson won't exactly be as bad as he was this year.
Oh, he will.
Maybe. Right. but even then,
He's believing in Russ.
hold on though. But even then, I don't know about believe. It was probably not
He's
a
done.
great term. But depending upon depending upon what happens here, where does Tua exactly shake out? You know, I'm probably again the only person really maybe here in the stock. I'm more intrigued to see what Mac Jones kind of looks like when they just have a solo offensive coordinator making the decisions in New England. So. And a guy he's worked with at Alabama, by the way, so that's going to be
then you got
interesting key part.
And you got Kenny Pickett.
Right.
And you
Kenny-
got maybe who the Colts.
Kenny Pickett, who literally only got better as the year went on.
And the Colts and the Texans are going to be looking for quarterbacks.
Yeah, I don't. This can be more discussion for April in the draft, but I ain't about this
I
quarterback.
think
I ain't
the
about
AFC's getting even better.
I ain't about this quarterback.
And the
class.
Jets still don't have a quarterback.
Right. Well, but I mean that's another good point too. I mean the Raiders don't have a quarterback. Jets don't have a quarterback. You mentioned obviously the Texans and the Colts, who there are pieces there, but they're probably still further down the line than I think. think even the Raiders and Jets might be in terms of competitive. So, who knows? You did mention an interesting part here. Like I was kind of surprised, and I'm not saying like you have to go out and play dirty in this. I'm surprised the Bengals didn't try and go after Mahomes more often in that ankle
So
territory.
play dirty.
Not play dirty per se, but I mean, what I mean by that is right, like
Test the ankle.
right. I mean, he only had like that one run right there at the end, which look, bang bang, but that's the right call. Okay, and both his feet were out of bounds. It's bang bang, but it's the right call. It's not like it was a could have gone one way or another type thing with the late hit. It was a late hit. But the fact that it was really the only time he was pressured.
Same thing
like
on
that,
Mixon earlier in the game. They don't call by the goal line. Same exact play.
I don't disagree, but it's the right call.
I disagree.
All right, fair enough. But the fact that was the only time that they really tested him in that sense, and the only time he really went out in that way, in that sense, like that would be like one of the first things in my mind you have to do as a defensive coordinator is force him to get out of the pocket like that and scramble upfield. To be quite honest, I don't know.
I have a question. Is Burrow getting a contract here? Or do you already get one?
He's got one more year on his rookie deal. I believe. I think it's 4 years.
It's
on
always
rookie
interesting
deals.
when that first rookie deal ends and they get their first big contract. See how the team, what happens around them, because the Chiefs did it and they're still there, but a lot of teams you see them fade a little bit.
Yeah, I don't necessarily fear, I think, for the Bengals. They're structured not quite like the Chiefs in that way, but they got that core around him, and I think they all kind of go and follow, for the most part, the all-for-one type thing. So I wouldn't be concerned, maybe, in the sense that you might be thinking. So
Did we get our Super Bowl picks right? We got it here.
No.
I can't
I
remember
didn't.
who I picked.
I'm pretty sure I said Bills 49ers, so I know I'm
Oh, you were close.
close. Only counts in horseshoes and hand grenades. So yeah, no well, Pro Bowl this week, but whatever. So next
Flag
week,
football, baby.
next week, as we always tease it, one of our most favorite podcasts we do on there, the Super Bowl Spectacular. So
Yes.
looking forward to it. All right, let's transition over to some college basketball here for the next
Yes.
couple minutes. I know we talked about it kind of recently, but an interesting thing popped up here a few days ago. So for those who don't know, and a lot of this was based initially around the gambling sphere, but has kind of crept into its own community of frankly, I'm a member of it, that we just enjoy watching. It started off in college football. It's now in college basketball, the Sicko Committee. And I typically call it a circle of succession, but it's really a circle of suck. And it wasn't even February yet when the 2022-23 full NCAA circle of suck was completed. All 320-something teams have beat each other effectively.
Explain that a little bit more to the viewers.
Okay, so I know it's a tough graphic to kind of look at here, just because of how, I mean, like I said, there's 300-something teams on there, right? So the way I always use the example of it, and I'll follow this path here that I'm looking at. Excuse me. So Missouri beat Illinois. Illinois beat Syracuse. Syracuse beat Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech beat Miami of Florida, who beat Virginia Tech, who had beat Dayton, who had beaten Alcorn State, who had beaten Stephen F. Austin, who then in turn defeated
Who is that?
Stephen F. Austin.
No, the one after.
I can't tell, to be honest. I can't zoom.
Who is that dog?
I can't zoom in.
Who is that?
That looks like a bulldog, I'm pretty sure. I can't tell what it is. I probably picked the wrong one to fully go in on.
You win enough. You
on
got
that.
the point.
But you get the idea, right? I mean, every team has in essence beaten each other. Okay? So, we talk about parity, especially in the ACC this year. Really, it's the NCAA. Parity this year is everywhere, to the point that we don't have a true favorite necessarily, although we will discuss that as well in a second. But my question to you, Nick,
Yes.
is this the most even college basketball field we've seen ever?
I think so. I really do. I think we usually when you get to the NCAA tournament, there's like no more than 10 teams you think they can win it all. But this year, I think this is the year. It's hard to predict a not so good team to win the NCAA championship, but we've never seen a 9 or above seed ever win a national championship in college basketball. The highest, I think, was an 8 from back in the day. I think if there's any year that have the best shot at it, I think this is the year that we maybe could see a 9 or a double-digit seed potentially win a national title this year. I think anybody can beat anybody, as you can see on this graphic. But and there's just some of the teams at the top. I'm just not sold on them. Purdue hasn't made a Final Four since the '90s. Houston, they're always there, but never sold to win a national title. They do rebound the heck out of the ball. And there's like Tennessee, never sold on Tennessee.
Well, they lost last night even to Florida.
They did? I did not see that.
Surprise. They did.
That's bad.
Nick, you put the graphic up again for just a quick second, because I do want to hone in on something that I found pretty interesting. So, thank you. I appreciate it. So, as longtime listeners of the podcast might know, Nick, you and the Big Ten have a bit of a what's called a rocky relationship. You know, you don't get along.
I'm not as big a supporter.
You don't see eye to eye. It's
No.
it's like with magnets. You both are two positive ends, and you just when we try and put you together, you go opposite ways. if you look at the graphic on the, I don't know what wing to call it here, but we'll start with your Notre Dame Fighting Irish,
Yes.
who beat Michigan State,
Yeah.
who beat
the only
Rutgers,
good win of the year.
who beat Rutgers, who beat Purdue, who beat Gonzaga, who then beat Portland, who then beat Villanova, so on and so forth. But I want to hone in on Purdue because in a weird twist of fate, them Boilermakers appear to be the most consistent team in the country, though, despite somehow losing to Rutgers. But that's neither here nor there. So, are you finally going to give the Big Ten or a team in the Big Ten
Okay.
any chance of moving forward?
No. Okay, Rutgers is not the Rutgers that we grew up watching. Rutgers they've done a good job with that program. They've made them contenders for the NCAA tournament every year. Arguably, Rutgers versus Notre Dame, last year's final first four game, is probably one of the greatest first four games of all time. And Purdue, I got a soft spot for Purdue because my good friend Josh, that's his favorite team, Purdue. A big Kyle Orton guy with Purdue football back in the day. So he likes Purdue basketball, and we watched the NCAA tournament a lot together, and every time I see his team get beat by somebody in the NCAA tournament, whether it's Arkansas, Little Rock, or they get upset all the time. Purdue, they just never make their run to the Final Four. They are good. Zach Edey is a monster, a little goofy, but.
Aren't all Purdue players a bit goofy?
Yeah, they've had like a 7-footer on the team for like the last decade. So, Michigan's down though. Michigan State's down. Purdue's good. Don't get me wrong, but the conference, I don't know. You trying to sell me on the whole conference?
I'm more or less just trying to sell you on Purdue.
I like Purdue, but it's just Purdue though. They're gonna lose. It's gonna happen.
Sheesh.
They'll probably stick them with like North Carolina's their 8th seed, and they're
tough,
gone in the second round.
The tough part here is just like I said, I can't get a beat on a true favorite this year at this point. I just can't.
No. Picking the bracket this year, it's going to be nearly impossible.
Houston's the best team, right?
No. I mean,
They have
Houston.
they have the shortest odds on DraftKings Sportsbook.
Wow. It's
Take
fair.
that for what you will, but from what I've watched, I don't have a ton
Anybody who
of college
does a
basketball
bracket-
watching experience, but I've seen Houston. I've liked them the best.
Houston, and the experience is there. A lot
They
of
play
those
some
Houston-
good defense too.
Yeah.
Love watching.
I mean, I don't know. Houston has shown me so much greatness, but then so much just like falling flat on their face, like they did 2 weekends ago. That I don't. I don't know what to make fully of them. And to be fair, I don't think it's going to get any easier for them because Ralph Sampson's in the news for possibly going and taking the Texas job. So, I mean, who knows? Who knows what's going to happen?
Who's the best team in the ACC? Is it Pittsburgh? Pittsburgh's pretty good. Out of nowhere.
Man, it's got to be probably Pitt or Clemson, right? Maybe Miami?
Yeah. No. I mean, I still think North Carolina, because they had their whole team back from the team that made the national title game last year. I think I don't know, I could see them making a run again, but you never know.
Right.
I mean, they could have easily lost to UCLA in the Sweet 16 last year. That was a great game.
I don't know what's going to... Here's the one thing I struggle with college basketball again this year with, in a way.
You're upset about Coach K not coaching.
Yeah, heartbroken. I just feel like we aren't getting a lot of coverage outside of not even the Power Five. It's like ACC, Big Ten, and Big 12, and that's about it. The SEC is finally getting a little bit more coverage out of the ESPN, but you really have to go fishing for Pac-12 stuff this year, Big East stuff this year. I mean, hell, even the American, Houston's the only team in the American that anybody even talks about at this point. And I mean, to be fair, they really are probably the only team that will do anything out of the American. But
I mean, I have I know ESPN and Finger Lakes One are partners. They've been working together for a while now. But
I don't think we have.
but
Who's
I've
your source on that?
I've had a love-hate relationship with ESPN because ESPN is the worldwide leader in sports. They really are. They're still the channel I always turn on first. I always press 24 in this area, but but their coverage is very biased. They only care about the sports that they cover the playoffs, because they have to cover the NFL because it's so popular. So they cover that nonstop. And then the NBA and college football, they cover a lot because they actually get the championship games. They cover the college football championship game. They cover the NBA finals. The other sports, baseball, they get the wild card round now at least. College basketball, I can see why they push it off. They don't get one postseason game. They get the NIT. And then like NHL, they get it, but I don't know. I wish they would cover the NHL a little bit more, but they're very biased with the sports that they.
I know.
They get.
I know one person in this room that really wishes they would be better with their NHL coverage, mainly on the ESPN Plus option. Nate.
Yeah, ESPN Plus has been interesting for the NHL this year. I haven't watched it a ton. We get the local Sabre games here on MSG. But,
right, but I'm saying though, like
they're interesting.
You brought up a good point though. Like they don't even have like the audio in sync on.
Yeah, the audio when the audio syncs
Really?
out, you'll hear John Buccigross say goal, and it's still on the stick of Victor Olofsson. So that's a little bit strange to me at times.
That's just they're lazy. They don't care. They only care about the sports they care about. That's the problem with them.
Right. Yeah.
And they know people are going to still watch. It's nothing you could really do. They're awful sometimes with their coverage. They look at you, Paul. They just took away NASCAR. They don't even talk about it.
Wow.
I remember growing up, NASCAR every Sunday night they had that Ricky Gervais, not Ricky
Ricky
Gervais.
Craven, Ricky Craven, the old drive. Dude, his turn. Hold on. Okay, this is actually the perfect segue because NASCAR is the final couple minutes.
But anyway, Ricky Craven.
That was awesome.
I'm a big fan of Nick turning a race car driver from the state of Maine into a British actor. This might be my favorite confusion moment ever.
But anyway, every Sunday night after the race ended, Ricky Craven would be on ESPN Sports Center, and they'd be talking about the race. They don't do that anymore.
No.
I remember on Sundays when PBA used to be on, bowling.
Well, Fox has that contract now. But
I don't know who you are, but I am.
Yes.
was he doing a circuit on Barstool the past couple of days?
I don't know.
Pete Weber.
Yeah, I think I saw something
Okay.
about that.
Like bowling used to have some big names, man.
Yeah.
Jason Belmonte, Pete
He's still
Weber,
there.
Norm Duke,
Norm's retired now, but
that couch
those
guy.
all people. All right, let's wrap up here. Talk NASCAR for a couple of minutes because the Clash at the Coliseum, the Busch Clash at the Coliseum, this weekend, a literal track inside the LA Coliseum. Second year they've done
I remember.
this.
I watched it last year.
Second year they've done
Pretty
this.
cool.
They extended out the field a little bit, so it's going to be a couple more cars in there than even last year. But I guess the question really for you guys is because you guys aren't really NASCAR guys at all or anything like that. But
Hey,
it's an exhibition race before the Daytona 500. You said you tuned in a little bit last year, right?
yes,
What'd you think of it?
I thought it was pretty cool.
You go watch a little bit of it again if you have a few minutes?
Yeah, because I'm not watching flag football. So yeah, I will. If I remember it's on, I will try to turn it on because it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
But it's also just spring training NASCAR, so
Kind of, sure. It's an interesting way to view it.
they should make it a race.
It is a race.
They have a dirt race now. They got racing in Chicago. Make it an actual race.
I think it's the test model for what they'd like to do for a regular season race somewhere. So for those who don't know, I mean, the Clash was held at Daytona since, the very beginning that they did in 1979, or 80 rather, I apologize, 1980. But in 2021, first year that they moved off of the super speedway at Daytona, ran on the road course to try and spice it up. Then last year, taking it to the LA Coliseum like they are this year and built a temporary track within the facility. A lot of it to me, and it's just a test model for what they, I think, want to do in a regular season race. And I think this is something that we may see not in the U.S. because I know they want to take a cup race international. Both the Truck Series and Xfinity Series have been in Canada before, Mexico as well for the Xfinity Series. I think this might be something that you see the Cup guys try and do and NASCAR do in Mexico City at Stadium Azteca potentially or something like that. Or, look, I mean, we could, hypothetically, I don't know if we ever would, but say we see it at, a temporary track built in England, say at a Hotspur Stadium where the NFL plays, right, their games, hometown of Hotspur, or maybe even, I don't know many other soccer pitches and stadiums, so, but something like that,
Is Joey Logano going to have another kid after winning it?
Not this. I don't think his wife is pregnant. I could be wrong, but
I remember that.
I mean, he could, I suppose. Why not? But Nate, what are your thoughts on? Because look, a lot of these sports are now just trying different things a little bit. What's your thoughts of kind of seeing a NASCAR race at a football stadium? To be quite honest,
It's actually the first time I'm hearing of it, Paul. But yeah, I'm always in for creativity, right? Especially with a sport like NASCAR, and even the NHL could learn from this too. They do it too, with kind of making your sport different and diversifying a little bit. Can always kind of captivate new viewers and kind of get people hooked on your sport. And that's what you got to do when you're I don't want to be mean here, but a secondary sport. You're not like the NFL or the NBA or like that. You're a tier below. So just trying to find new viewers and captivate a different audience is very important to me.
yeah. I mean, they're going right into the LA market by doing this, as opposed to. And look, they run in the LA market. They run it in Fontana, which is a suburb, but it's way out. You aren't really getting into the people. And yeah, I mean, you brought up a good point with Nate. For example, golf. That's kind of one of the things they're kind of planning on doing is more or less bringing golf closer to the people in a way.
Yeah, they're going to do it like a stadium series almost. It's called the TGL. That'll be really cool.
Yeah, so
It'll only be like an hour or so with just one knock of golf that just takes too long.
yeah. So it'll be interesting. Nick, do you have a pick? I think I know who you might be leaning on here with this, but
You think I'm going to go Joey Logano?
yes.
I'm not. I'm actually this
Oh.
is going to be the start of Kevin Harvick's farewell season, and he's going to get the big win.
You want to know who his sponsor is in the race? Busch Light, the same sponsor of the event.
Really?
You want to talk about some collusion?
Oh, that's NASCAR rigged right there.
Collusion in the Coliseum by Nick. Nate, who is a rogue pick for you? I see you have odds up there. Just pick a guy. Who
For
do you
the
think
Daytona
will win?
500?
No, for the Busch Clash.
Oh, is Denny Hamlin running?
Denny Hamlin will be running.
All right, Denny Hamlin for tomorrow.
All right, you're going If that's the case, why didn't you take Austin Dillon, who's 3?
His name is literally Hamlin.
All right, fair enough.
But I will say the Clash of the Coliseum is so much better than those duels.
Well, the duels.
Can we get rid of the duels?
The duels happen anyway.
No. Can we get rid of
They're
them?
the qualifying races for the Daytona 500.
Just call them qualifying. We don't want duels.
Stop.
Get rid of the duels. We don't
You
want
don't
them.
get it. So I'm gonna go. Admittedly, I don't think it's
Ty Gibbs?
I don't think it's necessarily out of the box.
Isn't
no.
Ty Gibbs running full
He
time?
is. Yep. I don't think it's necessarily out of the box here, but I'm kind of following a bit of a similar vein to you, Nick. Potentially, just not quite. I think fully over. I'm gonna take Kyle Busch. First time with RCR. He was up front all race last year, and I think what better way to do a proverbial middle finger to Joe Gibbs than to win your first race out with your new team. So
We didn't go with Chase Elliott.
I'm not high on Chase this year. I have a hot take about Chase. I think I'll
You
save
didn't
that.
like him on the Kelly and Ryan show?
I have a
We're
hot-
big fans of the show.
I have a hot
by the
take
way.
about Chase. I'm going to save that, though, for when we preview NASCAR fully here in a couple weeks.
You didn't like him on the Ryan Seacrest show there?
No. So, all right, that will take care of Fresh Takes for today. Appreciate everybody for tuning in. Nick, you have a shout out this week?
Yeah, shout out. No way she's watching, but this Sarah girl who helped me buy my new car.
Okay.
She is. She helped me buy it. What's that called? They're called
Salesperson?
salesperson. Shout out to Sarah, the salesperson, who got me my 2017 Hyundai Elantra.
Oh, boy.
Yeah.
Silver? Right.
It's,
Gray?
gray
It's a smart
or
choice.
silver.
Smart choice for the winner.
Yeah, I'm not a big color guy, but I think it's silver.
All right.
See the silver gray.
Yeah.
Well, shout out Sarah.
All right.
Get me off the screen.
Thanks, Sarah, for helping Nick out. Hey, if you can't watch live here on YouTube, make sure you catch them anytime on YouTube, Anchor, Spotify, or on FingerLeaks1.com. Appreciate everybody for tuning in. Nate Sharman, appreciate your help behind the scenes. For Nick Felice, I'm Paul Russo. Enjoy this weekend, quiet before the Super Bowl. Talk to everybody next week.